Hello! In today's lesson, we'd like to begin our work in Chapter 3, and today's lesson is about lines and angles. Our objectives of today's lesson: by the end of today's lesson, you will be able to 1. Identify the relationship between figures in space. And 2. Identify angles formed by two lines and a transversal. Let's begin with our first objective. Our first example are parallel lines. The definition of parallel lines: coplanar lines that do not intersect. This symbol is our symbol that means is parallel to. So if we take a look at an example of a box, coplanar means they have to be in the same plane. In our diagram, examples of parallel lines would include AB and CD. They're both coplanar. They're on the top plane of the box. BC, AD, also coplanar because they're on the top edge of the box. Excuse me. AE, DH, the front edge of the box. AD, EH. And you can see more of these examples. Our next relationship are what's known as skew lines. Skew lines are non-coplanar. They are not parallel, and they do not intersect. So again, here's our box diagram. In the diagram, these lines would be, examples of skew lines would be AB and DH. Not in the same plane, but yet they're not parallel, but yet they do not intersect. BF, AD. Not in the same plane, don't intersect. Another example, DC, AE. Those are all skew. Our next definition is that of parallel planes. They're simply planes that do not intersect. Remember from earlier work that a plane is simply a flat geometric surface that extends infinitely in all directions. So when we use planes, we think about the box and we think about the faces. The top face, ABDC, naming a plane by 4 non-collinear points. EFGH, the bottom face. ABEF, the left face, would be parallel to DGCH, the right face. Parallel planes. That concludes the first objective. Now let's get started on the second one. And to begin the second objective, let's first of all define what is a transversal. Well, a transversal is a line that intersects two or more coplanar lines at distinct points. Here's an example of a transversal. Notice that when a transversal intersects the two coplanar lines, 8 angles are formed. We'd like to identify those 8 angles today. Our first angle types are interior angles. What do you think the interiors would be? If you said 3, 4, 5, and 6, you're correct. Interior angles are the ones that lie between the two coplanar lines. Next, we'll define exterior angles. Which ones do you think are exterior? If you were thinking of 2, 1, 7, and 8, you were right. They're outside the two coplanar lines. Thus, they're exterior. Next, let's talk about angle pairs. And our first angle pairs are alternate interior angles. Again, here's our diagram with our transversal line intersecting lines A and B at 2 distinct points. Alternate interior angles are non-adjacent, meaning they can't share a side, can't share a vertex, that lie on opposite sides of the transversal. Which ones do you think would be alternate interior? If you were thinking 3 and 6, you're correct. They're non-adjacent, don't share a vertex and a side. They lie on opposite sides of the transversal. What other angles would be alternate interiors? 4 and 5. To help you look for alternate interior angles, you're going to look for a Z shape. Watch my pointer. Here, down the transversal, here. The Z shape. That forms angles 4 and angle 5. A backward Z, 3, down the transversal, 6. Next, corresponding angles. What are those? Well, they're angles that lie on the same side of the transversal and in corresponding positions. When we say corresponding in relationship to the coplanar lines. What do you think are corresponding? If you were thinking 2 and 5, you're correct. 2 and 5 both lie on the left-hand side of the red transversal, and they lie above the coplanar lines. What other angles would be corresponding angles? Three and 8, left of the transversal, below the coplanar lines. 1 and 6, also 4 and 7. Same position, same side of the transversal, and in corresponding positions. Next, same side interior. Well, by the definition, you kind of see what we're talking about. Same side interior. They have to be on the same side of the transversal and interior. Which ones do you think they are? If you were thinking 3 and 5, you were correct. What other angles help you with that? Yep, 4 and 6. For same side interiors, think of a C shape. If I trace the C, starting here on coplanar line A, down the transversal to coplanar line B. A backward C, 3, back to 5, and across. Alternate exterior. Just like alternate interiors, they're non-adjacent that lie on the opposite sides of the transversal. What do you think are alternate exteriors? If you were thinking 2 and 7, congratulations, you're right. Angle 2 and angle 7. It can't be 2 and 1 because 2 and 1 are adjacent because they share this part of the transversal line as one of their sides. What other pair of angles would be alternate exteriors? Yep, 1 and 8. That concludes today's lesson. Hope you enjoyed it.